So today I was hanging out at home, doing whatever it is that I do, and I decided to check the news because we all know that the news is such a bundle of joy these days. Isn't it fun checking the news? So I decided to check CBC, which is the main Canadian news network, and the first story that I see, breaking news, here it is. Airlines suspending certain flights, Ottawa introducing quarantine hotel stays to discourage travel. And as soon as I read that, I knew I would be at home for a while. This wild ride that we are living through is not ending in 2020. In fact, this is a clear sign that 2021 could be more of the same. And now some of you who watch my channel know that I was just in Mexico. In fact, you probably thought I was still in Mexico because I haven't officially done a video about my return yet. So if you want to know about that, I'll tell you more at the end of the video. But first, I want to explain what this new restriction means for Canadians and then why I think it's a really bad idea.
And Canada's main airlines have agreed to suspend service to sun destinations right away, are canceling air service to all Caribbean destinations and Mexico starting this Sunday up until April 30th.
So basically flights to warmer destinations where a lot of Canadians like to go to. Of course, if your plan was to actually stop people going down there in the wintertime, you're a couple of months too late, because a lot of people have already been doing that, including politicians. And this is part of the problem we have here, is that over the past couple of months, we've had a growing number of stories in Canada about politicians flying from Canada down to Mexico or down to Cuba or Jamaica and taking like Christmas vacations. And now, a month later, after there was a big backlash, we are seeing effectively a travel ban. So as one YouTube commenter I saw put it, YouTube comments are always the best for the truth, aren't they? Well, not always, but sometimes they are. And this guy, now that all the politicians got their vacations out of the way, they are ready to step up and lock everyone else down. And that's really how it seems. It really is hypocritical, and also it's a sad reflection of the time that we live in. There's a very, for non-Canadians, you might not have heard about this, but every Canadian knows how this story started, and it was a politician in Toronto, a Canadian senator who not only did he go on a Christmas vacation, but he was posting on social media posts about like, do your part and stay home, and like just telling everyone to stay home. He even did like meetings on Zoom where he had like a fake backdrop to make it seem like he wasn't actually in Mexico, but he was still back home. And he was at a hotel by the beach. He was having a typical beach vacation while lecturing the rest of Canadians about how you need to stay home. So this is the hypocrisy that we're seeing here. You know, I am someone who believes in the science. I don't need to tell you guys if you've been a long-term viewer of my channel. In fact, I was talking about the virus at a point when I didn't see any other travel channels talking about it whatsoever. February 2020, I made a video just asking the question, should people be traveling right now? And, you know, it was a few more weeks before everything started shutting down. And then once everything had shut down in March, I made another video advising people, this is the moment, we got to do this, please stay home. This isn't the time to be traveling. Like, everything was shutting down. And I felt like that was a great moment for the travel community to really come together and just unite and be like, we're going to do our part. We're going to beat this thing quickly. Everyone stays home and we can stop this virus. We can do it together. And instead, everyone just decided to buy a bunch of toilet paper. Humans, right? We're not always We're not always so good at planning things, are we? I also believe the world has changed a lot since March of 2020. We're now nearly a year into this thing, and we are needing to find ways to live our lives as best as we can. And frankly, for a lot of people, travel is not just about getting drunk at the beach resort or working on your tan. For some people, travel is about like reconnecting with loved ones. Like there have been all kinds of terrible stories about people who, their wife is in the United States and they can't get there because the border's closed. Either the government won't let them travel because it's blocked, or it's a situation where you're working and you can't afford to quarantine for 2 weeks when you get back because the time and the cost of that is too great. And then there's people like me who work in the travel industry or work jobs where you need to travel. And I've seen my job disappear over the course of 2020. And I was fully on board with staying home and like, let's do this together, let's quarantine, let's stop it. But now that we are a year into this thing, I feel like I'm in the same position as, for example, a restaurant owner. It's like, yes, it makes sense to close your business for a while because, there was a special moment in time when we all had to unite. In fact, that was the time for Justin Trudeau to get on TV and make this, to do all this stuff about mandatory quarantines, which is the other part of it that I haven't even got to yet. But the other part of the travel ban is that Canadians arriving from other countries now need to do a mandatory a mandatory quarantine in a hotel that they are paying for. And this isn't just any hotel where you go on booking.com and find the cheapest hotel you can. No, you can't do that. The government has selected these locations, and apparently the 3 days that you'll be staying there will cost upwards of $2,000. I didn't misspeak. It's $2,000 plus to do 3 nights in this hotel. And maybe it's more like a detention center. I think hotel might just be like a marketing term they're using. Because if it's a place that you're not allowed to leave and they're charging you $700 a night, what's that money paying for? Is that for security guards? Is that for I'm pretty sure you can find a little bed that you can put someone in and give them like a few ramen noodles a day. What are people even eating? Does that include food? I don't know. But $2,000. So now on the one hand, I get it. People are seeing the cases going up. They are feeling like we need to do something to stop this. And stopping travel seems like an easy thing to do because it seems like a non-essential thing to do. But just bear in mind that, as I explained, there are different types of travelers. There are people trying to travel for their jobs in a responsible way. There are other people traveling just for fun, and perhaps they shouldn't be able to do that right now. But when you add an expense like that, a $2,000 expense, what you're actually doing is you're actually reinforcing the idea that there's a different sort of life for rich people and poor people. I can't afford $2,000 for a 3-day quarantine. So as long as that policy is in place, I can never travel again. I'm home. Whereas for other people, that could be seen as just a reasonable expense. A millionaire is not going to be happy to spend $2,000 and stay in a hotel for a few days, but it's not unreasonable for some people. So in some sense, they can continue to travel, but other people like me, and most likely like you, cannot. I'm very disappointed by how the Canadian government has handled this. I feel like they have actually done the worst of both. In terms of some people want it to be more strict, some people want it to be less strict. I feel like we messed up both ways. we should have been more strict at the beginning, back in March and even into February, if we had a bit of, if we'd actually like handled it the way some of the Asian countries had. But we didn't. We were too open. We were allowing flights from all different countries around the world. And then after like nearly a year of hard measures and being restricted and keeping the quarantine and all that stuff, we get to the point where there's a big scandal where politicians are traveling that starts the dialogue about travel is bad. Therefore, travelers become the enemy. Therefore, we need to ban travel. But not really, because if you're rich, you can still afford to travel. But everyone else can't. Is it hypocritical from the government? Is it an excessive use of power to be restricting travel in this way? Is it unconstitutional? Is it actually is there some legal issue with telling Canadians effectively, think of someone who's still in Mexico right now. You're effectively telling them they can't come home without spending over $2,000. Now, people might think that every traveler can afford that because people have this idea that if you travel, you must be rich. But I know a lot of backpackers who don't have $2,000. So how do they get home? Has the government thought of this? Are they just saying, tough luck, stay in Mexico? We don't care. Let me know what you think of these restrictions. To say it clearly one more time, we are now only having flights into Canada in 4 airports. I believe it's Vancouver, Calgary, Toronto, and Montreal. No flights from Mexico, no flights from the Caribbean. Mandatory quarantine for Canadians coming back to Canada, where you need to have a hotel for 3 days that you pay for. You need to get tested. If you get tested and you get positive, you need to stay in that hotel for 2 weeks. And who knows how much that will cost you. But the point is, it's effectively impossible to travel in Canada without spending a lot of time and a lot of money on your way back. So travel is canceled. Thanks to all the Canadian politicians who told us to stay home while simultaneously traveling and got caught and then started this big fiasco. Really appreciate you guys having our back.